When we left you on Friday, there was some talk that the Redskins were seriously pursuing Peyton Manning. Apparently, Peyton didn't call him back, so they cut a deal late Friday night, and oh my gosh, we're now in line to pick up Robert Griffin III. We thought we would get a real sports guy in here. Guy knows about the NFL, knows about the Redskins to talk about this. John Keim from the Washington Examiner is on the line. John, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
All right, Sid, did you see this coming?
Yeah, to a degree, yes.
Really?
Well, you knew that if they weren't going to get Peyton, and it started to look like Peyton was not interested. I'd heard for a while, and others had too, that he was reluctant to play in the NFC, and especially against his brother twice a year. So you knew there was a chance it wouldn't happen. And then the next step was to be aggressive, trying to move up in the draft to get Robert Griffin III. I think the surprise is how soon before the draft it occurred, but there are circumstances this year that kind of forced teams to have a sense of urgency in trying to move up. So did not see it happening that night because, like a lot of other people, I was kind of busy with my night. But
well, that ended, didn't it?
Yeah, so didn't see it happening that night, but you could see this happening.
All right, so were you surprised at how much the Redskins gave up in exchange for the opportunity to draft RG3?
A little bit. I think it was a little bit more than what I would have expected. I think that they gave up a second-round pick this year and then first-round picks next year and the year after. So it was a little bit steeper. But when you look at it, Cleveland was very interested, and the Redskins had to trump the Browns, and the only way they could do it is by offering a package like this. And when you have a couple teams involved who have high picks and are willing to move up and be aggressive, then it's going to get steeper. And also, compared to years past, when you move up in the draft now, the salaries are not as exorbitant as they were a few years ago because there's a rookie wage scale. So the cost of moving up even 4 spots in terms of dollars is not that bad. So as in the past, it would be steeper. So you may be willing to pay a little bit more in terms of a pick because of that. But this is the price they had to pay, and this is a guy who could potentially be a franchise quarterback. So in the end, there may not be I think it's a price worthy of paying.
Do you know whose decision it was at Redskins Park? Was it Mike Shanahan? Did he want him? Was it the general manager, Bruce Allen, or whatever his title is? Or was it the owner, Daniel Snyder, or were all three on board with this decision?
I would say all three. I mean, this is not a move you make unless you're all on board. And Mike has wanted to find a franchise quarterback. I mean, any coach does. But they've been searching for that since he got here. The organization has been searching for that since before he got here. So I think you add it all up, and Robert Griffin has the sort of qualities that would fit well in a Mike Shanahan offense, which would prompt him to be even more aggressive. He's mobile. He's smart. He has a good arm. He throws down the field very well. And he has really good intangibles. I mean, there's a lot to like there. So, and then from the owner's perspective, yes, he wants to get that guy in here too because you want to win. But this is the kind of guy who has clearly created a buzz in town, and I think it'll add some excitement there. And obviously there's a marketing part to it, but I think the entire organization is on board with this one.
All right, so to have a success, even the best quarterback needs a good offensive line, and he needs somebody to throw to. Where are we in that regard?
Well, they'll be aggressive in free agency trying to pursue a receiver. San Diego's Vincent Jackson looks like the primary target. He's a big play guy, and I think that would be a tremendous help. As far as the offensive line goes, they'll be in the market for a right tackle. Free agency does not offer a ton of great options there, so that may be a little bit more difficult. The one thing to keep in mind with Griffin is he does have that mobility. It does help an offensive line because he can get away from some pressure, and they can use him in different ways to kind of help alleviate some of the pass rush. So if they don't get him there, I think Griffin's what he can do can help that line eventually. But I do think that they'll look for some more help along the line. They need more help along the line, whether it's in terms of depth or in terms of another starter. They do need some more help.
I was just thinking from Mike Shanahan's perspective. He's had 2 losing seasons now in Washington. He's going to have a rookie quarterback. I mean, he may be great, but he's still a rookie quarterback. And as good as Cam Newton was last year, the Carolina Panthers still had a losing record. He signed a 5-year contract, so I guess he's here for 3 more years. He's given up the number 1 pick next year and the year after that as well. I mean, long term here, do you see this working out with Mike Shanahan? And, how much pressure is on him to make this thing work out next year?
Next year, I think there's a little bit, I don't want to say a grace period, because 11 wins in 2 years isn't going to sit well with anybody. But I think if you show real improvement, which to me would be 8-9 wins, then I think you're fine. If you come out there, you go 6-10, you can't just say, well, we had a rookie quarterback. Well, you would, because I think if they have more parts around him, you can do better than that. And I also think that they'll probably end up they're going to try and sign a veteran quarterback, whether it's Rex Grossman, Kyle Orton, or somebody to start the season, and you give those guys better parts around them, then you should have improvement as a team. And I don't know that Griffin will start right away, and that's the thing we don't know. So it's not like he'll be playing the entire year. And I do think this buys you a little bit more time, as opposed to if you go out and get Peyton Manning, well, you got to win right now.
Right now,
so it does buy some time.
On that front, in one of your articles, I read where Bruce Allen said they're still interested in Peyton Manning. That ain't going to happen, is it?
No,
at this point, I mean, that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. Listen, I have interest in buying a Lamborghini. It doesn't mean I'm going to get one. So, I think, if you're Peyton Manning, why would you want to come here now? Because you're not going to draft a quarterback number 2, just like in Indianapolis with Andrew Luck. You're not going to draft a quarterback that high and then let him sit for 3 years behind Peyton Manning. It's just silly. And why would he want to come here under those circumstances? So, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, that's just. I think the point with that one is they still want a veteran quarterback to start the season, and if Peyton Manning called up and said, "Yeah, sure, I'd come," well, they'd be interested, but that's not happening.
All right, before we let you go, Georgetown is a number 3 seed in the Midwest, and they got Belmont in the first round. Now, a lot of people hear Belmont, and they're like, that's where I buy TVs, right? But Belmont's a good team. Did Georgetown get a little screwed here in this seeding?
Well, they got a tough seed. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, this team won 30 games last year. And they lost by 1 to Duke this year in the season opener. So, and it has the tough part is, first draw, it's a senior laden team, and I think those teams from these mid majors or smaller schools are always tough because these kids have played so much together that it compensates for certain things you don't have. I mean, I would expect Georgetown to win, but I think Georgetown fans will remember a couple years ago they lost to 14-seeded Ohio in the first round. So I think there's going to be a little bit some nervous people watching that game because they are better. They're a team that you could see if winning a few games realistically. So I think it's a tough first round draw for a 3-14 matchup.
All right, John. Great to have you on. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good stuff.
My pleasure anytime.